students, hello and welcome to Strategy classes. In this video lecture, we will be dealing with poverty. In the last video lecture, we dealt with unemployment. In this video lecture, we will deal with poverty. This is our fifth video lecture in Indian economy section. So let's begin our journey. Poverty is a state in which there is a lack of basic requirements or necessities which are subjective in nature, like your food or education. These topics, food and education, these are subjective in nature as well as they are your basic requirements or necessities to be fulfilled. So if these basic requirements cannot be fulfilled, then that state would be called as poverty. So there are two types of poverty. One is absolute poverty, another one is your relative poverty. So what is absolute poverty? Absolute poverty is a type of poverty in which income is below the threshold income of $2 per day to access the basic need or the life sustaining goods and services. If we convert this $2 per day into Indian rupee, it will be roughly around 145 Indian rupees. So, this definition of absolute poverty has been provided by World Bank. Remember this, World Bank provided this definition that any individual with an income less than $2 per day or 145 rupees per day should be considered as in the state of poverty. We will look into Indian study cases as well. So now coming to relative poverty. It is a type of poverty in which the income is below the given average in the society or income is less than some proportion of per capita income. In relative poverty, the average income of the society is taken out, that is, or the per, which is also can be termed as per capita. How can we find per capita income? GDP in nominal terms upon the total population into 100. This will provide your per capita income, not into 100. This will provide your per capita income. If any person is earning less than the per capita income of India, then that state of condition is termed as poverty. Mostly per capita income can also be termed as the average income of the state. It is generally found in developed economies, and India along with China are developing economies. Normally in your developed economies, your Western world comes into picture. No doubt about it. Now we will look about measuring the poverty. How can we measure poverty? Measurement of poverty can be done under three types. Three parameters. One is your poverty line, another one is your head count ratio, that is the HCR, other one is your PGR or the poverty gap ratio. This is providing the depth of poverty. And currently we are following PGR. Let's look into details. Poverty line, its absolute poverty talks about minimum basic requirement. Therefore, in case of India, the consumption expenditure of minimum basic requirement per household per month, remember per household per month is calculated. This is called as your poverty line. Now what is head count ratio, HCR? HCR is nothing but your total number of BPL households upon the total number of households. This is called as head count ratio. But there is a limitation to head count ratio. What is it? it is not an effective method for calculating the depth of poverty. Through HCR, we cannot calculate depth of poverty. So, to address this limitation, we came up with the poverty gap ratio. We came up with the poverty gap ratio. So, what is poverty gap ratio? It focuses on an entire population as it takes into account both the BPL, that is the below poverty line, as well as the APL or the above poverty line households. Suppose this is the poverty line. A family is here. This is called as APL, above poverty line, and another family here, and this is called as BPL family, below poverty line. So this depthness, that means how much below the poverty line this family is present. This depthness of poverty can only be found out through poverty gap ratio. So higher the PGR, higher is the depth of poverty. Look, this is one PGR. We can say that here is another family present. The PGR 2, PGR 2. This is PGR 1. PGR 1 is less than PGR 2. Hence it could be said that higher the poverty gap ratio, higher the depth of poverty, and lower the poverty gap ratio, lower the depth of poverty. Therefore, we follow PGR for a very depth and deep analysis of poverty in India. Now we will look into poverty estimation in India. How poverty estimation is done. 5 various types of committees you will find. One is your B.N. Dandekar and Nilkant Rath. B.N. Dandekar and Nilkant Rath. Next you will find your Y.K.ALAGH committee, followed by your LAKDAWALA committee, then your SURESH TENDULKAR committee, and then you will find your Rangarajan committee. The most recent one is Rangarajan committee of 2012, SURESH TENDULKar committee in 2005, B.N. Dandekar and Nilkant Rath in 1971, Y.K.ALAGH in 1979, and so on. So now let's take a look into all these poverty estimations in India. Dandekar and Rath Committee of 1971. So the Planning Commission was given the responsibility to measure the poverty post-independence. Planning Commission was given the responsibility to measure the poverty post-independence. So in 1971, the Planning Commission came in with Dandekar, B.N. Dandekar and Nilkant Rath Committee. So B.N. Dandekar and Nilkant Rath first gave the technical definition on calorie-based poverty line, in which our minimum requirement was food, only which was measured in calories. Minimum requirement was fixed by Dandekar and Rath Committee as food. Remember this. And they decided that India needs on an average 2250 kilocalorie per day per person. They have not segregated India into rural and urban. They said that India on an average requires 2250 kilocalorie per day per person. Now your Y.K.ALAGH committee comes into picture. Y.K.ALAGH committee of 1979, this committee agreed with the calorie-based poverty line given by the erstwhile Dandekar and Rath committee. But it segregated India into rural India and urban India. So it said that no, calorie intake and food is the minimum basic requirement, but we will segregate this into rural and urban. In rural case, you will require 2400 kilocalorie per day per person, and in case of urban population, you will get 2100 kilocalorie per day per person. This Y.K.ALAGH committee said that rural population requires 2400 kilocalorie because they work, they need more carbohydrate because they are mostly involved in physical works, whereas urban population they are not that much involved in physical work, hence they require little less amount of calories, less amount of energy, that is 2100 kilocalorie per day per person. Now after Y.K.ALAGH committee, your LAKDAWALA committee was formed in 1993. And this committee recommended the inflation adjustment. For the first time, inflation came into picture. Inflation adjustment on the basis of consumption done in the society. Inflation adjustment on the basis of consumption done in the society. Rural population on basis of consumer price index, for agricultural laborers, and urban population on basis of consumer price index of industrial workers. No mentioning of consumer price index of UNME, urban non-manual employees. Okay. So under these two, LAKDAWALA committee gave its report in 1993. Then after that, SURESH TENDULKAR committee was formed after 12 years in 2005. This committee gave the clarification on measurement of poverty line on the basis of food, transport, electricity, health as well as education. Most importantly, one of the basic criteria for measurement of poverty line was spending capabilities. Remember, SURESH TENDULKAR committee distinguished poverty into spending capabilities. So, if in a rural population 27 rupees per day per person can be spent, then that person would be said above poverty line. And in case of your urban population, if 33 rupees per day per person is being spent, then it could be said as above poverty line. Below this would be said as below poverty line. Now, after 2005, your Rangarajan committee was formed in 2012. So, Rangarajan committee formed under the UPA government. Dr. Manmohan Singh was the Prime Minister in 2012, submitted its report during the NDA government to Narendra Modi government. The poverty line was calculated on the basis of calorie intake along with transport, electricity, health and education, just like your SURESH TENDULKAR committee. The spending capabilities was restructured. SURESH TENDULKAR committee said 27 rupees for rural population and 33 rupees for urban population. Rangarajan committee said no, because of inflation adjustment, rupees 32 per person per day for rural population and rupees 47 per person per day for urban population would be our poverty line. Now we will see with the various methods of estimating poverty. How these committees, the above previously mentioned 5 committees, estimated poverty. The various methods they utilized, we will look into one by one. Uniform reference period, URP, uniform reference period. In this method, minimum consumption of 30 days or 1 month was being calculated, and that is the household consumption for the minimum basic requirements, food, shelter, clothes, etc. The consumption of a household for fulfilling these minimum basic requirements for a period of 1 month is being calculated through your URP method. It is also known as your uniform recall period. Soon after came your mixed recall period. Mixed recall period, here the consumption was calculated on the basis of 30 days, that is approximately for 1 month, for the food items and for 1 year 365 days for non-food items. So Suresh Tendulkar committee utilized this method for estimating poverty in India. So what did Suresh Tendulkar committee did? It did that for food items, that means the consumption of food consumption, it calculated it on a 30-day basis or a monthly basis, and on the non-food items it calculated the non-food items expenditure on a yearly basis. So this is the major differentiation done by Suresh Tendulkar committee, and this method is called as your mixed recall period, and it is also known as your mixed reference period. Now we will see modified mixed recall period. So what is modified mixed recall period? Here the calculation was done on the minimum household consumption of 7 days and maximum household consumption of 30 days. Minimum of 7 days and maximum of 30 days. Also, the major investments done in transportation, education, electricity was also calculated on the basis of 365 days or approximately 1 year. Suresh Tendulkar and Rangarajan committees have utilized this method to portray their estimation of poverty. So, which two committees utilized MMRP? Suresh Tendulkar and Rangarajan committees have utilized MMRP to portray their estimation of poverty. It is also known as modified mixed reference period. Now we will look into multi-dimensional poverty index. What is multi-dimensional poverty index? It is an index in which multiple dimensions are there for measurement of poverty, such as education, health, standard of living, electricity consumption, sanitation, drinking water, cooking fuel. These are the multi-dimensional aspect to measure poverty. Hence, this is called as your multi-dimensional poverty index. When a person is one-third deprived, remember 33%. 33%. When a person is one-third deprived, when a person is one-third deprived of from the above essential requirement, when a person is one-third deprived of from the above essential requirement, then he is considered as poor according to MPI or multi-dimensional poverty index. So out of these, education, health, standard of living, electricity consumption, sanitation, drinking water, cooking fuel, if a person is one-third deprived or 33% deprived of availing these facilities, then he will be considered poor under multi-dimensional poverty index. So that's it in this video lecture regarding poverty. If you find this video useful, if you find this video helpful, like us, like our video, subscribe to our channel and share this video as much as possible. Further, if you want to enroll in our live classes and get Indian economy from me through live classes, where I will be covering the complete Indian economy in as per UPSC syllabus, you can enroll yourself in our website, the link of which is given in the description box below. Thank you. Have a good day.